effort to be respectful for your time, we have a full program, so we're going to start. Welcome to our CF Family Night. This is our third one. I hope it's as good as the first two. We have some cool stuff to explain and update you on. It's a small enough group that if we have questions, just pop up and answer them, pop up and ask them, pop up and do whatever you want to do. So this is all about you guys. Just a little basic house cleaning. If you have not signed in, please do so. We would appreciate it. If you have a phone, and who doesn't nowadays, can you put it on stun or mute or vibrate or whatever it is that doesn't interrupt everybody? We are live streaming this, and we're also recording it. So if your family didn't get an opportunity to come, they can follow through later. At the end of the night, I'll nag you again about this one, but we do have a brand new auditorium that's redone. So please pick up and take your trash with you out to the dumpster as we leave. Not the dumpster, but the trash. And most importantly, probably, is evaluations. For us to be as good as we hope to be, 2 minutes, I'm already on the hook. For us to be as good as we'd like to be for you and to help educate you as much as we do, we need to have your input and tell us what you really liked or tell us what you really disliked. I think at this point, Kim Reno, who I think all of you might have met once or twice along the line, and we're going to talk more about her even in front of her a little bit later, is going to give us an update on the Compass program from the CF Foundation. Welcome back home.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is really nice to be back home, I have to confess. So for those who may or may not know me, I'll get closer. I just wanted to get my slides. So as Dr. Barnett mentioned, I'm Kim Reno. I was a social worker here at the Care Center, and now I am working for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation Compass program as a program manager. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, just to give you a little update about the program and give you some background information so that if you want to use it, you can use it and know a lot more about it. I have to confess, even with all of the things that I did with the foundation in the Care Center, I had no idea the extent of the experience that the case managers have and all that they can do and that they will do for patients and families. So please take advantage of their services. Here's our phone number at 844-COMPASS, really easy to memorize. And we have 14 case managers that take the calls for all of the United States. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but they are definitely busy, and they are fantastic people. My two friends, Aaron and Martha, and they're starred there. They speak Spanish, but we also have a language line, so their other languages are represented if necessary. And Compass can help you with your insurance concerns, with any financial concerns, and it's really to link you with resources to help you with whatever need that you may have just living with CF, and also connecting with some legal information as well. And with the insurance benefits, we know that's all pretty tricky, right? And you've all heard me say it's not the most glamorous part of my job when I was working in the Care Center, but a necessary part. And the case managers really can help you understand the basics of insurance, helping you to find an insurance plan that will work for you and your family that's affordable, but also troubleshoot some insurance issues. So if you're having some of those troubles, make sure you let us know so we can help you with that. We also want to make sure that we're using your benefits to the fullest extent, so finding pharmacies and helping to coordinate with that. But then also helping the care centers and the patients navigate the prior authorization process, which is really, really tricky. We can't do the prior authorizations for you or for the care center because we don't have the medical records, but we can certainly help navigate through it with you. We also have financial resources to connect you with a variety of topics, from medications, vitamins, supplements, co-pays, anything that you may have, any sort of out-of-pocket expenses, even living expenses like housing, transportation, that kind of thing. And we really, again, want to maximize all those benefits that you have and link you with the resources that you need. And we can help you apply for Social Security disability. We work with the Legal Information Hotline, which we'll talk about here momentarily. And they'll help you with insurance issues, again, employment, education, or even applying for government benefits like Social Security. There's two sides to the Legal Information Hotline: the Social Security Project with Beth Suffian, which you may know about. She and her team will help people apply for disability when they need it. But then they can also help with applying for government benefits and helping with maybe any school issues or work-related issues or employment issues. And of course, they want to make sure that no one's rights are being violated by insurance. We also can help with other issues and concerns like life transitions, just from pediatric to adult care or from regular CF care to maybe transplant care. We also have a disaster response. We had 40 cases that we helped. There were a lot of natural disasters last year between the wildfires and the blizzards, the hurricanes, and we helped a variety of people be able to get their medications, their equipment, and we even linked people with temporary housing. We also are advocates. So interestingly, Compass is underneath the Policy and Advocacy Department within the foundation. So when we hear about access issues, we will link with our policy colleagues. And so if there's an issue with a particular insurance or with a Medicaid program, we'll let the policy people know so that they can actually work with the legislators and make a difference. And you can join us with our advocacy efforts. Everybody has their cell phone. All you have to do is text FIGHT-CF to 52886, and you'll be a part of the text alerts that you'll receive throughout the year, where you can become involved with some of the issues that are affecting all the patients and families. And there's also the Get Involved tab on the Foundation's website where you can learn more. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here and allowing me to share with you some Compass and my new adventure.
So the next on the hit parade, one of our newest doctors, Dr. Ben Goldstein, is going to come down and give us a talk. He's going to talk about some really exciting things that are going on in the CF world, new drugs, research that we're participating in. We're going to officially introduce him in just a minute. He came to us from Cleveland, I think. Is that where it is? Yeah, he trained the same place that Dr. Ruddy did and Dr. Voti did, so I think we've had it with the Cleveland people. The non-Cleveland people have voted him off the island. So we're ecstatic to have him. He's a great doctor. He's a great person, and he brings another view of the world, and so we couldn't be happier to have our newest partner, Dr. Ben Goldstein, give you an update on what's happening in CF.
Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Ben Goldstein, for those who I haven't met yet. And so what I'm going to do is introduce myself first. I will introduce our most recent data from the last year for our CF Center. So that's the boring part of the talk. And then I'm actually going to introduce all the research studies that are going on and why that's important for our center. And so first and foremost, a little bit about me. So I was born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I went to college also on the East Coast at Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. I was at medical school at Drexel, and then I was the last 6 years at Rainbow in Cleveland. And so my wife, Hannah, who some have met, is the inpatient pediatric pharmacist here at Toledo Children's Hospital. My daughter, Julia, who's 17 months, and yes, finally walking, for those who I've complained about that too. And my new dog, Mocha, who, as some of you know, I'm not excited to have. So, and so I'm just going to briefly go over our most recent data that from 2017. And so, fortunate and good things to know is that we actually improved in all categories on both the pediatric and the adult side. So, I will show you that to you now. So first, from the pediatric standpoint, our lung function data has improved over the last 3 to 4 years. We are now currently, our mean FEV1 is 99.1, which is well above the national average. And I showed the national average on all of these sections as well as the goals for the CF Foundation. So we're just there. We're pretty much probably in the top, between 5 and 1% in the country in FEV1. Our nutritional status, so our BMI average in pediatrics is 61.7, which is well above the national average and well above the goal for the United States. Screening for cystic fibrosis-related diabetes, we're at 90.7% of children have been screened, and that's well above the national average and almost towards goal. And then following the CF Foundation guidelines for care in children less than 18 years of age, that includes 4 clinic visits per year, at least 2 PFTs and 2 throat cultures per year. We're at 92.5%, which is well above the goal and very well above the national average. So all very exciting data. And our adult colleagues, we are very similar. So the lung function in adults within the last year, the median FEV1 is 68.4%, which is well above the national average. BMI status is also above the national average, as is CF-related diabetes screening and CF care guideline, following the CF care guideline. So it's very exciting data for us and kind of shows what great care that we provide all you guys. So, but most importantly, I think one of the biggest things I'm going to leave with everyone today is in the last year alone, this is from the data from the CF Foundation from the national meetings in Indianapolis last year, is that within 1 year we've actually added 5 years to median survival in cystic fibrosis in all comers, and that's really exciting stuff. That means, and there's a lot that goes into that, better infection control, better medications, better antibiotics, but most importantly, following the guidelines, and I think that really shows how great care that not only we at Toledo, but the rest of the country provide. So it's really exciting stuff. And so I'm going to kind of briefly go over a little bit of medication history within the last maybe 5 to 7 years and talk about the new studies that are available at our center. And I think that's important for you guys to know because maybe we don't advertise it nearly as well as we should. And the reason this is the case is because of research that is going on, clinical research that's going on across the country. So I'm briefly going to talk about some of the medications that have come out within the last 5 to 7 years, and then also what new studies are coming down the pike that either are available now or are coming. And I'm going to give a little disclaimer that if you have any questions about your specific child, come up to us afterwards or bring it up at your next visit, or you can always call Kelly, or Stacy, because they can always answer any questions of the research studies. All right. So starting in January 2012, those with gating mutations, so first was G551D, and then that's expanded now. The first was ivacaftor or Kalydeco. This was Vertex's drug that was FDA approved in January 2012. This is a potentiator, so this helps the gate basically function better. And this is, so let me take one step back. So this chart on the left is the 5 different classes of mutations in cystic fibrosis. Most commonly is our delta F homozygous patients. That's class 2. So that's where the protein is misfolded, so the cell recognizes that as abnormal and breaks it down right away. So you have no functional CFTR at the cell surface. But there are 4 other classes. Class 1 is your premature stop codon, so these are your X mutations. These have absolutely no functional protein as well. Unfortunately, that's the class that we have yet to get a great drug for, unfortunately, but it's still, obviously, people are working on it day in and day out. Classes 3 and 4 are more of your gating mutations. The CFTR gets up to the surface but doesn't function as well. That's more your class 3, and then your class 4, CFTR proteins created, moves to the surface, but the function is just faulty. So it's not a true gating mutation, but ivacaftor seems to work in these patients as well. And so ivacaftor, as I stated, was the first to be approved in January 2012. It's a potentiator which improves the gate opening basically and allows chloride to flow through more. These are if you're class 3, class 4, and currently we're approved over 2 years of age, but they're working on under 2 currently. And so that's where you're class 3 and 4, okay? Next was Orkambi, which is ivacaftor lumacaftor. This was approved in July 2015. This is your potentiator, ivacaftor, And then there's the corrector, or the lumicaftor. And what lumicaftor does is it basically attaches to the faulty protein, folds it better so the cell doesn't recognize it as abnormal, allows it to survive, and then gets chaperoned up to the cell surface, and then the ivacaftor allows it to function better. And that was approved for our Delta F homozygous patients, and currently that's approved for over 6 years of age. So that's right here. And then the next one, as a lot of the audience knows, is Symdeko, which was just approved in February 2018. This has ivacaftor, but instead of lumicaftor, it has tezacaftor. This is currently approved for over 12 years of age. What's great about this medication is that it has less drug-drug interaction, so you're allowed to use a lot of antifungal medications that we are not able to use on Orkambi. But I think one of the more important things that we get asked about is in females on oral contraceptive pills, you're allowed to be now on Symdeko. It works. And so this is not only for our class 2 mutations, which is our Delta F homozygous mutations, but also all these other ones listed. And so currently we're still over 12 years of age, but I know there's probably studies going on looking at younger ages currently. And so that's the other part of our class 2 mutations, among other mutations. And so this is really the crux of the talk, is really about the current and upcoming studies that are available. But we're still not there with class 1 yet, but we're still working on it, I promise. And we're trying to, catch all these. And I'm going to leave you with one extra stat at the very end in a second that hopefully will be exciting. So let's talk about the current study. So the first one is called AeroVanc. It's inhaled vancomycin for patients that are MRSA colonized, or methicillin-resistant Staph aureus colonized. This is an interventional double-blind placebo-controlled study. What that means is neither the patient nor the study provider actually knows whether or not you're either on drug, or vancomycin, or placebo, or a dummy drug that has no medication in it. So this is looking at placebo versus inhaled vancomycin for chronically colonized patients with MRSA. The inclusion criteria, there's no CFTR-specific mutations required. You just have to be colonized with MRSA, and that means greater than 50% in the last year, I believe, of cultures have to be positive for MRSA. Your FEV1 has to be between 30 and 90%. This is in 6 to 21-year-old patients. And then there's some other exclusions, like no current prednisone use, no new diagnosis of Burkholderia cepacia in the last 6 months. The duration is 13 visits. It's 30 to 32 weeks, so it's a pretty extensive study. But hopefully, it's the ability of using inhaled vancomycin instead of oral or IV vancomycin, so there's hopefully less side effects and things like that. That's the hope. So it's better, it's well tolerated. So that's coming, right? We're looking for patients currently for this study. And just for everybody to know, sorry to take one step back, we are screening all of your children for all of these studies, and we'll be asking you about them if they qualify. So the next one is called Vertex 445102. So this is also a double-blind placebo-controlled study. This is looking at placebo versus triple therapy. So I just talked about Symdeko, which is double therapy with ivacaftor here, and tezacaftor. So this is looking at ivacaftor, which is currently a twice-a-day medication. This one would actually be a once-daily dosing. Tezacaftor, and then something called VX445, which is called an amplifier. So what this means is that we have the tezacaftor, which folds the protein better, chaperones to the cell surface, ivacaftor, which allows the gate to function better, and the last one is an amplifier. So not only is that all happening, but actually more gene is actually being processed and more protein is being created. So that's the next step. The inclusion criteria, so this is actually looking at class 1 mutations. So these are our premature stop codons, or our X mutations. And F508del, these are greater than 12 years of age with an FEV1 between 40 and 90%. Again, the exclusion of no new diagnosis of Burkholderia in the last year. And then there are certain exclusion medications that are too long to list, and so we'll be talking to you guys about this one as it starts to come. The study duration is 10 visits and 32 weeks in total. The next one is Vertex 445103. So these are in our F508del patients instead of our class 1 mutation patients. This also is the ivacaftor, tezacaftor plus the amplifier, and it's a similar inclusion and exclusion criteria. The study duration is 7 visits. It's 16 weeks total. And then the next one in the Vertex studies is 445105. This is, we're taking the last 2 studies, so you have to be enrolled in 102 or 103. Once those complete, you would roll over into this study. And this is an open label, meaning you know that you're on drug, you're on medication. Again, this is over 12 currently with an FEV1 between 40 and 90%. Study duration is 12 visits, 14 telephone visits. That's about 100 weeks total. And so it's really exciting. We're very excited to be part of these studies. It's actually pretty rare to be in 1, if not 2, and we're actually in 3 Vertex studies. So that's actually really exciting for our center. The next one is called CHECK. CHECK study is an observational study. So it's basically observing clinical outcomes and sweat chloride results if you're on ivacaftor or Kalydeco already. So this, you would just come in for 1 visit. You have to be over 4 months of age. You have to be on Orkambi or Kalydeco for greater than 3 months. There's no FEV1 inclusion. It's really just an observational study. You come in. You can even do this during a regular scheduled office visit, and you get a sweat chloride while you're in the office. And we can do that right in our office, in our rooms. So it's just seeing clinical outcomes and sweat chloride value, how they change from baseline on an Orkambi and Kalydeco. Okay. Have I put everybody to sleep already? Okay. The next one, 2 more, I promise, just 2 more. So proteostasis, PTI 801, is their own triple therapy study. So what they're looking at is it's also just like VX 102 and 103. This is using their own amplifier instead of VX 445, instead of the Vertex medication. This is proteostasis medication. These are for F508del patients that are greater than 18 years of age. They must be on Orkambi. So here's the Orkambi portion. Instead of the Tez-Iva, this is Lume-Iva. The FEV1 is between 40 and 90%. There's no exclusion with Burkholderia patients. It's 9 visits in duration. It's 23 to 50 days in total. Okay. The last one is our Novartis study. So what this is looking at how well we are able to basically follow the directions of their packet on how to use Toby Podhaler. So this is basically, you come into the office, you've never used Toby Podhaler previously, they give you the package and they want to see how well you're able to open it, read it, and use it. You have to be over 6 years of age. FEV1 has to be greater than 25% predicted. It's 1 visit, 4 hours. And so these are the studies that we are currently enrolling for and in the future. But this is the final point. This is what's so exciting, is that in the next 5 to 10 years, this came up at the TDN in Philadelphia 2-3 weeks ago, was that in the next 5 to 10 years, we hope to cure 93% of those with cystic fibrosis, which is super exciting for us. So stay tuned. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, we don't have time for questions because we're pushing. Oh, we do. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where do you see gene therapy going? I know it's
I did not put that on here because it gets very complicated. Yeah, bullet points. So with gene therapy, there's a lot of different techniques that are available currently that they're looking into, one of which is using viral vectors to get the gene, basically using a virus, giving the child or adult a virus that would then allow the corrected protein to get to the cell level, get snipped out with, there's 2 or 3 different modalities out there that's able to do that. There's something called CRISPR-Cas9, there's something called zinc fingers, there's a couple of them out there that basically chew out the bad gene and put the new gene in and then reads through, and it should be, so it's exciting. We're not there yet. I know they're still in the mouse level, but that's probably part of this 5 to 10 year goal, is that's where the cure comes in. It's exciting. I don't know where it's going to go. You know, the viruses seem to be working. There's adenovirus. They're using a couple other viruses, but they're not there yet with the mouse models. I know where I trained, they're doing a lot of research with CRISPR-Cas9, and it's not as straightforward as that. It's very hard to multiply and clone those mice with corrected, so it's not there yet. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Any other All right, well, thank you so much. I look forward to meeting you guys. Thanks.
The beauty of this is that if you can imagine that when Pierre started the CF Center, he's here in the audience if you didn't see him come in. When Pierre started the CF Center, that was before electronic health record, before paper, when we were using stone and chisel. But everybody with CF was treated the same. There was one disease. So it's amazing how far we've come. And the other thing that I'm going to push you a little bit on is the fact that the reason that the dramatic improvement has been made in CF care is not only the care centers and the huge teams of absolutely sensational, fabulous people we have, from our care coordinators and respiratory therapists and nutritionists and social workers, and the newest addition to our team is mental health providers, because this is a disease that is extremely stressful for both patients and families. But it's you as the family who brought all this money to the National CF, and the CF has invested wisely and gave money to startup funds, and now that's why we're at where we're at. It's just amazing progress. We're the only disease in the world that's been able to do this, and it's all because of the families and the national organization. So they deserve a huge round of applause also. Or maybe you deserve the round. Megan, Dr. Keaton, and Dr. Ruddy are going to join me now. We're going to give some fabulous awards to some very truly fabulous people. So I think Dr. Keaton is going first.
So we just wanted to recognize some of our staff members who have been great parts of our team over these last several years, and wanted to just give them a token of our appreciation. One of the people we're going to recognize tonight is Luann Garber. She was our dietitian for a long time. Unfortunately, she's not here with us tonight.
She had a dental problem. Her husband is a dentist.
So unfortunately, she's not here, but just a little bit of information about Luann. She was a dietitian over at Flower Hospital in family practice prior to joining our CF Center back in 1998. So she was here with the center for practically 20 years. She was really a great part of our team. We called her our social director because she would also organize fun things for us outside of work and really made it a great working environment. She retired back in February of this year. She's enjoying exercising daily, and she's volunteering at the Humane Society Furniture Store. So, well, we wish Luann was here. The other person that I would like to recognize is Colleen. I know she's here somewhere. Colleen Rediger, she was also an amazing person and part of our team, and we miss her dearly. She worked in the pediatric ICU after she graduated from nursing school, and then worked in Dr. Budo's cardiology clinic for about 10 years. And then Kathy Doney was smart enough to recruit her and steal her away, and she became our adult CF coordinator back in 2009. And she did great work as our adult coordinator, always had such a bright smile and positive attitude, and we miss that dearly. She transitioned to our research team in 2014 and then retired in December of 2016, and is now spending a lot of time taking care of her mother and lots of good time with her grandbabies. So thank you so much.
All right, the next person that we want to recognize is Kim Reno, who you all know is here today. Kim originally worked at the Toledo Hospital. She was a discharge planner for about a year.
She knew about Compass before it existed.
Right, yeah. And then she came to the CF Center initially part-time in 1994. And she worked many different jobs while she was part-time at the CF Center until she then was full-time at the center. So that was for 23 years at the CF Center.
She has made countless contributions to not only the center but nationally for cystic fibrosis patients. She's given many talks at national meetings, and she has, basically spearheaded the mental health initiative for the CF Foundation nationally. So we miss her dearly also. Her passion and dedication have made certainly long-lasting impact for patients and for the center. So as you know, she recently left the center and is now the manager for policy and advocacy for the COMPASS program. She is, I'm sure, making huge improvements there and making it better every day, and probably enjoying working from home. And yeah, not dressing up every day to come here. So thank you for all you have done. We miss you, and congratulations.
We have a few more that we're going to do. So probably sitting up next to Pierre and Mary Voti is this lady by the name of Sue McDonald. And when Pierre first came here from, where's that place again? Cleveland. Sue got stuck with being, Sue was Pierre's first clinic nurse. She had helped in the, I guess it was a satellite clinic of Rainbow in those days with Dr. Henry. And she was Pierre's first clinic nurse back in 1974. And then in 1998, she had left for a while. She came back to do CF care. And she became one of the nurse coordinators, and then became one of our research and data entry people, and retired in 2017. And like everyone else who've moved away from us, we miss her dearly, and we appreciate all the work you did for us and our patients. Very cool. Marlene is not here tonight, but she's another one of our long-timers who retired in this past year. She spent 20 years on the floor at the then Toledo Hospital Pediatric Department, which is now grown into Toledo Children's. And then after 20 years as an inpatient nurse, she came to cystic fibrosis in 1993, and then moved on with Susan to become the data manager. She retired in June of last year and moved into a new house with her husband, and she has her own crafting room, and she said one of the best things about that is she's making comfort pillows for people who need them. So even though she's not here, we have an award for her, and we want to thank her very much for all she did for us also. Dr. Jeff Lewis joined the CF team in 1999. Pierre brought him on as the very first adult provider at that time when National CF said, you guys are doing too good of a job. All these kids are now living into adulthood, and we need adult providers because they have adult diseases. And so I'm sorry he's not able to be here with us tonight, but we miss Dr. Lewis, or we'll be missing him as he moves to St. Luke's to help run the residency program in family medicine over there. But I think all of you know Dr. Ron Waynes has joined our team. It's 7 years now, and doing an excellent job taking care of our patients. And one of his newest partners is also joining the team come July. So we're happy to have your peeps and all the expertise you give us. And thank you very much for the work you do for the kids with CF. So a round of applause there. I would be a little remiss if I didn't kind of walk through some of the newbies. We can't ever replace our oldies, but the newbies also probably are known to most of you by now, but if not, let me give you a quick a little summary and update on them. Dr. Hassan Dubuque has joined us in the last year. It's just a little over a year that he's with us. He just missed being introduced at our last family night. Dr. Dubuque was in Florida most recently, but he's triple boarded in pediatrics, in pediatric critical care, pediatric sleep, which is a whole new thing that we're learning so much about as it relates to patients with cystic fibrosis, sleep disorders, and BiPAP at night. And these things are another one of these avenues that's going to really help our families and also critical care. So Dr. Dubuque has been a huge addition to our center, not only for his sleep, but his other expertise. So we're happy to have you as part of the family. We already talked about Dr. Goldstein, and then I think he kind of went through it, but we're happy to have you as part of the group. We love it when you're on call. That means we're not. So, but another great addition to the group. Katie Jaworski has taken over for Kim in the social work world. She's been a great addition to the group. She doesn't have all of Kim's day or two experience yet, but she's growing into the job quite superbly, and we're happy to have her. Christine Rober is the newest member of our team. Christine, I don't know if everyone knows you, so please stand up. She's the one holding up fingers at us when we're over on time. Christine is our mental health provider, and she's able to do counseling. She's able to do individualized counseling and family counseling. She has a master's degree in social work, and so we're happy to have that. I think we've learned over the last probably 10 years that mental health in general is way underdiagnosed in our country, and imagine mental health and the stress that our teenagers live under, and now add the heavy weight of a chronic disease that's very needy. CF is needier than a lot of other chronic diseases. And so we're ecstatic to have someone who can help our patients through that. Lynn Lieber, where are you, Lynn? Oh, she's in the green, stand up. Lynn has filled Luann's job. Lynn comes to us from Toledo Hospital, where she worked for, should we use the number? Go ahead and say it. 5 years? 35 years, yeah. Yeah, 35 years, and she's worked in a lot of different situations, and we were happy to get the person we exactly wanted for that job. Kelly Hoot has moved from the adult coordinator to fill the other KH, Kelly Hauser. Kelly's gone to part-time. Kelly Hoot is now full-time, and so then Kelly Hoot's job was open, and Amanda, where's Amanda? Amanda, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. You're sitting right next to Kelly. Amanda is the new adult coordinator, so can you stand up and let everybody see you if they don't already know you? Yay. And then Sarah Cusa is another part-time person who's working on I think she's working both with adults and kids. She fills both those voids when Amanda and Kathy have already done their 100 hours for the week. She helps with the extra work. And then Stacy Elliott, I don't think she's here tonight, is she? Yes, she is. And you want to stand up? Okay. What? No, that's me standing up. You're taller than I am. Stacy is another one of our part-time research coordinators. So that's the new team. We're happy to have them. We're proud of them. As Ben said, we're really proud of what we do for our kids, but the key to success is everything we do as a team. And I don't know if Leah got introduced last year or not. Did you get introduced last year? You did, I thought so. So Leah is working with the adult service primarily, but we'll see kids if we're short providers. So a great team. We couldn't be more proud of them. We're happy to give your families the absolute best of care that we can. We give them care as if they were our own, because after 20 years, you become like family to us. So thank you for everything you do for us. And without further ado, we need to introduce our speaker for tonight. Well, you want to take a break? Let's take a break for 5 minutes. Potty break, everybody knows where the bathrooms are and mingle, but we really need 5 minutes is all we get, and then we get back on the saddle. Okay, 5-minute break, make it 10. You good?
Yeah.
Pop right up for you. You're hoping? Yes? Okay.
Cool. Hi, yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to get started again. If you could just take a seat, and we will introduce our speakers for tonight. We'll just wait a minute for people to walk back in and take a seat. All right, so we have two speakers for tonight. Our first speaker, her name is Casey Green. She's 17 years old and in the 11th grade. Despite having CF, Casey's a very accomplished young lady. She's an honors student, went to Worlds for a robotics competition, has been very active in volleyball, taekwondo, and now weightlifting. Casey's message is don't let CF stop you from living a good life. Please help me welcome Casey Green.
Hi, I'm Casey. So I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis before I was born. My brother also has CF. He's 2 years older than me. And so when my mom got pregnant with me, she had an amniocentesis, which showed that I have CF too. Lucky me. As you guys know, having CF comes with many responsibilities, like remembering to take my pills and putting my treatments before other things, such as going to a friend's house. Even though I try to take the best care of myself, CF is a disease where severity really varies between person to person, and sometimes lung function goes down despite doing everything right. So far, I've had 7 hospitalizations. Luckily, our hospital lets me just go inpatient for a few days and then go home on home IVs afterwards. But actually, recently, the last 2 PICC lines that I've had, I've gotten a clot in them, which caused a lot of complications, unfortunately. Just this most recent time that this happened in January, I was put on Lovenox beforehand, which is an anticoagulant to try to prevent this from happening. Even with this, my body still rebelled against me, and I got a clot. So this is just a really good example of how, even though we may try to do things to prevent something, some things are just out of our control. Although having CF makes life really difficult most of the time, not everything is bad. I've learned to take responsibility for my actions, because if I miss my treatments or my pills, that's my fault and not my mom or my doctor's. I've also learned how to manage time really well and get ready really fast in the morning so I can afford to hit the snooze button a few times. CF has also brought my friends and I closer. I have a ton of memories of them visiting me when I'm in the hospital, from opening the curtains dramatically and performing plays for our parents to my boyfriend and I ordering 20 pieces of bacon at 10 o'clock at night during a movie marathon. It's also taught me a lot about myself. I've been exposed to the medical world from a really young age, and I've learned that I'm really interested by it. To me, the best part of a hospitalization is getting to talk to specialists to learn more about my body. A positive side of getting all the clots was that I had a lot of ultrasounds on my arms, and I learned to identify different veins in my arm and find them. It's a struggle for a lot of people to find the perfect balance between having a good life or quality of life and taking care of themselves or burden of care. It's important to enjoy living life while also taking care of yourself. Some of the biggest priorities in my life are my health, school, my relationship with God, and my friends. Some of those are burdens, like health and homework, and others make my life a lot more enjoyable, like being with my friends. It can be really tough to fit all of those things into just 24 hours, so I may have to decide whether I want to go to my friend's house or do my treatments, and that can be a really tough decision to make. So everyone has a different definition of quality of life. The World Health Organization's definition is an individual's perception of their position in life in the context of the culture and value systems in which they live, and in relation to their goals, expectations, standards, and concerns. That's a lot. It's basically just saying that quality of life is based off of where they are in life and how they see it. The medical quality of life's definition is a bit simpler: the patient's ability to enjoy normal life activities. Sometimes it's hard to live a normal life when you get thrown different variables like a chronic illness, for instance. If we don't get a chance to enjoy life, then really what's the point? So I definitely make it a point to live my life like I'm living my last day. But of course, some days are harder to do that than others. And then my definition is having fun and enjoying life while also taking care of myself. I really enjoy living, like most people. I laugh and I have fun, but I also want to live as long as I can, so I know that I need to do the best that I can to take care of myself. This is a scale that was developed to measure the quality of life. It includes physical and material well-being, which is health and personal safety, relations with other people like parents, siblings, family members, and friends, social community and civic activities, which includes giving back and helping others who are in need, personal development and fulfillment, which is understanding yourself, making goals for the future, and expressing yourself, recreation or having fun and socializing, and independence, which is being able to do things and take care of yourself on your own. The higher that you rank in these 6 areas, the higher the quality of life. For me, the most important ones in my life are relations with other people, because my friends are a really big part of my life. Recreation, because it's nice to have a break once in a while. And independence, because my parents have taught me to be independent from a very young age to prepare me for when I'm living on my own. As a kid with CF, I know that friends are very important. They help me to maintain a healthy balance of happiness and joy in my life. They're always encouraging me, and they know how hard I work at staying healthy. Every summer, I go to camp for a few weeks, and having CF, I have to take all of my pills and do my treatments. My best friend, she goes with me every summer, Meg. She always went with me to the nurse to get my pills 3 times a day, and she sat with me while I did my treatments. Eventually, I got smart, and I just smuggled my pills in, so I didn't have to walk back and forth across the campus. But yeah, I should have done that earlier. And then when I was in 8th grade, I went on a school trip with a group of my classmates, and we went around different parts of the state of Washington. I requested to have Meg with me because she always helps me out with CF-related things. And also, I don't think the school would have let us go together if we didn't have a valid excuse. Having good friends who understand CF is really important to me because they give me support when I need it. Growing up, we've made a point to spend time together having fun as a family. When I was younger, we'd have family day 2 or 3 times a month, and we'd go to zoos or swimming pools or children's museums. Now that I've gotten older, my mom has learned that my love language is food, so she takes full advantage of that knowledge. We also try to get together with our extended family, who are all really supportive of my CF care. One year, my grandma helped me organize my own team for the CF Walk in Seattle. She even helped me design and pay for the shirts for the people who were on my team. Despite getting sick and sitting through treatments a few hours every day, I have fun. One of my favorite things to do is travel. Just over the summer, my mom, brother, and I went to London and Paris, and that was one of the most amazing trips that I've ever taken, and I really can't wait to take another one like that. When I'm not in school or traveling, I spend most of my free time with my friends. It's also important to me to get some time to unwind at the end of the day, and I usually do that by listening to music and painting or writing. I also enjoy watching YouTube videos, which have answers to questions I didn't even know that I had. I've played sports most of my life, and I enjoy doing them. I've noticed that it's helped my health significantly, and I feel more energized and just happier in general when I'm more active. When I'm not doing a sport, I notice that I cough a lot more, and I typically have to go on antibiotics. Recently, I got into a messy cycle where I was very active, but then I got sick, and that made me want to exercise less because I was more tired and out of breath. I'm sure that me not exercising as much contributed to my lower lung function. My mom has a chart with all of my PFTs side by side since about 2006. And when I started playing volleyball in 6th grade, my PFTs spiked, and they have stayed there ever since then. Along with maintaining my health, playing sports have helped me get a chance to make more friends and grow in the relationships that I already had. I love school, and I always have. I'm a very curious person, and I genuinely enjoy learning new things. This year, I decided to do a program called Running Start, which is basically where I take college classes at a community college, and I get credit for both high school and college. I really enjoyed doing this, and it's given me the opportunity to take classes that I had never gotten the chance to take before, and things that really interest me. Recently, I've been spending most of my free time studying for the ACT test, which is a standardized test that most colleges require when you apply. It's very similar to the SAT. I'd like to say that I've been studying so hard so I could get into a good college, which is true, but it's mostly because I'm very competitive and I just want to beat my brother's score. So these are just a summary and some tips that I like to give to parents. So the first one is help your child develop strong friendships. Like I said earlier, my friends are the most important part of my life pretty much, and they really do support me even when I'm sick, and so just that's very, very important. And then also sports are important for our bodies, to feel good about ourselves and to be with friends. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then focus on the positive and encourage your child. It is really, really easy to get to get mad at us when we may miss a treatment or forget to take our pills, but I know how much it means to me when my mom notices how well I'm doing, or if she notices that I sacrifice something for my health, and she brings that up to me. Another important thing is don't just focus on CF. Although it's a really important part of our life, there's more to us than that, obviously. And then the last one is enjoy life and dream about the future. And this is something that really helps me when I'm kind of getting down. It's just kind of to think about how other people have things oftentimes a lot worse than me. And I really am lucky to have the life that I have. And this is just a quote that I like to finish up on. It was said by Albus Dumbledore from Harry Potter. And it says, happiness can be found in the darkest of times if only one remembers to turn on the light. So I think we have like 10 minutes or so for questions, and then my mom is going to talk and we'll do questions together. But if anyone has anything, feel free to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
So you're from Seattle. How did you get connected with the Toledo CF?
I mean, I've been doing public speaking since I was like 11 or 12. And I think the CF clinic asked my mom if she wanted to talk, and my mom always kind of brings up that I'm also a public speaker, so she kind of helps me get a foot in the door. No. Yeah. I'm not quite sure yet. I know that I want to do something in sciences. I'm not sure whether I'll get a degree in nursing and do research with that, or go into like robotics and engineering. I do robotics club, and last year we made it to Worlds, and it was really a great experience. Yeah. I've been pretty open. I mean, when I was younger, my mom used to come to class, and she'd explain to people, like, she'd bring brownies and grapes, and she'd be like, oh, grapes are healthy for you guys, but brownies are healthy for Casey. And she'd give everyone snacks, and it's like, Yeah, I mean, personally for me, it helps when I have a good support system with my friends. And yeah, when I was in 4th or 5th grade, my grandma, like I said earlier, she helped me organize the CF team to do a CF walk with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And pretty much my whole class went to that and donated, and it was a lot of fun just getting to have them know a different part of me. So yeah. That's a good question. I think it's just important. I mean, my CF team has been really good at remembering how I have a life outside of CF. And so, you know, some things like recently my lung function dropped a little bit, and they're having me like increase my treatments, and they know that like obviously I have school and friends and extracurricular activities, and so like sometimes it's not realistic for me to be able to spend like 45 minutes, 30 minutes in the mornings doing that, and so it's just easy to, or it's good to remember to be flexible, I guess. I think that's my main thing. Yeah, another example of that is I'm going to be a worker at one of the camps for a month. It's in Canada, and so it's a long journey to get there. It involves like a bus and a 4-hour boat, and it's hard. So where my lung function is at right now, I'll be able to bring the handheld like aerobica or acapella device to do my chest physical therapy, and so they've been working with me to figure out, you know, alternative options instead of having to carry a big, huge machine around with me, and yeah, that's been really appreciated. Okay. Well, I think we're good now. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. That was great. Our next speaker is Casey's mom. Her name is Lisa Green. She is a mother of 2 teenagers with CF and an advocate for patients and families. Lisa is on the CF Parent Advisory Committee at the Seattle Children's Hospital, is a parent partner for the CF Foundation's Learning Network Community Initiative, and is a contributor for other CF resources and organizations, including CF Canada and CF Australia. Professionally, Lisa is an adjunct professor at Concordia University in the Department of Child and Family Education. She's also an author of 3 books. Lisa's mission is to help families learn practical, easy-to-use tools and skills to deal with the everyday challenges of living with CF. Her message is, you can do it. Everybody welcome Lisa Green.
Thank you so much. It's just great to be here. You know, listening to that bio, it's interesting. I just want to say all of that happened after and because of having, well, 1 kid and then 2 with cystic fibrosis. Like my pre-CF days, I was in mortgage banking, right? So it's really crazy, I think, about the way that life twists and turns, and just, you know, I think we can all say, yeah, I would take away CF in a minute. I mean, everyone in here would say, wipe it away, but just the things that come from life of this amazing community, as I just sat and listened, are just really, including meeting all of you. We would have never been here to visit the amazing Toledo Art Museum. I'm just going off about the Toledo Art Museum because it is really incredible. You guys might not appreciate it, I don't know, but I mean, I think in some ways it rivals the Smithsonian. Really, it's really incredible. So if you haven't had a chance to visit it, I hope you can. Well, that's a tough act to follow, Casey. Thank you so much. And again, it's wonderful to be here. I guess I should get my slides up here. We'll get Casey off the screen here. But I like to start with asking a question. My question is, how many of you here have been in a situation with your child? And this is not just child with CF, so let me just set the stage. How many of you here are parents, just in general? Pretty much everyone, as far as I can see. So almost everyone in the room has a kid, or certainly knows a kid, right, at the least, right? So how many of you here have been in a situation with your kid or a kid where you just didn't know what to do? Just flat out didn't know what to do. Now raise your hand, keep it high, and look around the room. If you can, look around the room, raise your hand. All right then, we are in good company. Let's watch. Oh, yeah. We've all been there, done that. We are in good company. And if truth be told, every parent in here has had that moment when we've been like, what were we thinking? What were we thinking? We love our kids, right? Let's just say that. We love our kids. But there are those moments that we wonder, we really didn't know what we were getting into. Yeah, so let's talk about this dad. So how does this dad feel in this moment? Does he feel like Father of the Year? Not so much. Call it out. What is this dad thinking and feeling in this moment? Frustration, embarrassed, helpless, overwhelmed, anger. Anything else? Feeling violent. Yeah, I know what I really want to do, and I'm really trying not to. Yeah, so because of the feelings that we're having in these moments, we may say and do and react in ways that we know better, we're not proud of, but we do because of our emotions, because of where we're at, and also oftentimes because of how we were raised. Here's the challenging part about parenting is that oftentimes, not always, we respond in the ways that we were raised. And if truth be told, many of us were raised with the anger, yelling, nagging, reminding, warning, swatting, spanking, sort of punitive approach to parenting. That's how many of us were raised. And so it's really easy for us to default to that. We add our emotions in the moment, frustration, anger, fear, anxiety, to some parenting paradigms that we were raised with equals not so proud of our reactions in these moments, right? And so how are some reactions that what are some ways that we might react in these moments with our kids in this kind of situation? What do we do with our kiddos in the middle of Safeway who are doing this? Call it out. So pick them up and take them outside, absolutely, and that may be a very healthy and good thing to do. Thank you very much. There's your first tip for parenting. Ding, 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 removal or distraction. Yeah, so what else might we say and do in these moments? Ding, 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 number one answer, right? So give in. Bribe, give in, right? The kid is having a fit right at the counter, right? Because they put all the goodies right at the checkout stand. By then, we're the most overwhelmed, exhausted. We've had a rough day. We've had it, right? And of course, they start grabbing the gum and the candy, right? And they have the fit. And what does our kid learn then when we give in? It pays. Yeah, the tantrum pays, right? Yeah, not a good lesson. But in the short term, in the moment, we're exhausted. We're overwhelmed. That's what we do. We've all done it. No guilt here because we've all done it. What else might we say and do in these moments? Call it out. Walk away. Yep. That's a good response. Yep. What else? Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being honest. Yeah, yelling. Yeah, I've heard it said that yelling is the new spanking, right? And some of us might even give the kid a swat, again, depending on how we were raised. So yeah, we react in ways that we know better, but out of our frustration, anger, angst, our situation, and our prior parenting experiences, we may react. So the question is, what do we do when we don't know what to do? Parenting is hard. It may be one of the hardest and yet most important things that any of us do in our lives, especially when the stakes are so high, when we're dealing with something like cystic fibrosis or diabetes or hemophilia or a heart disease of some sort. I mean, any number of situations where we're dealing with a chronic situation. I remember all too well the day I realized that kids truly don't come with an instruction manual, and that was the day that Casey was a newborn, my son Jacob was 2, they're about 2.5 years apart, and it was just a rough day. I still remember it like it was yesterday. And I needed to feed Jacob, and of course you guys know the routine. Of course they need to take enzymes before they take their food. And the way I would give it to Jacob at that time was, of course, to open up the enzymes and sprinkle it on the applesauce and go in with the spoon, right? You guys are aware of this little procedure, this process. Well, Jacob did not like this procedure, this process. Has anyone here ever tried to make a 2-year-old do something? How did that work out for you? Yeah, yeah, right, not so well. Yeah, so he didn't like this situation. So I'd go in with the spoon and he'd close his little mouth up tighter than a drum, right? Or I'd go in with the spoon and he'd turn his head and I'd, run into his cheek and dribble applesauce all over the place, right? Some of you may have had that experience. So one particularly rough day, I went in with the spoon and Jacob hit my hand and splattered applesauce and enzymes all over the place. I'm not proud of this moment. It was a reaction. So I swatted Jake. I spanked him, which was how I was raised. And out of my own fear, anxiety, and worry, like, oh my gosh, this kid has to eat. He needs to gain weight. And it's my fault if he doesn't, right? If he's not gaining weight and he's not eating, it's my fault. I need to make him eat, right? All those feelings going through me. So I spanked him. And this triggered a temper tantrum in Jacob that was a real doozy. It was like that kid on the ground. He was flailing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do, right? And so I figure, okay, out of desperation, I picked him up and I put him in the shower. And it worked. I figured if it works for drunks, maybe it would work for him. And it did. It did. So there's your first parenting tip, right? Distraction, removal. Yeah. So, and so it worked. We both calmed down, but after we had both calmed down, I hit what I call my rock bottom parenting moment, my gutter moment as a parent, when I realized, wow, here I have 2 kids with cystic fibrosis, strong-willed kid, Jacob. It's a good thing. How many of you here have a strong-willed kid? Oh yeah, I have 2 of them. Now Jake and Casey are different. Jake is more overtly strong-willed, like in your face strong-willed. And Casey is also very strong-willed, but quietly strong-willed. I'm not sure which is harder. Yeah, but anyway, and being strong-willed is good. We want our kids to be strong-willed. We want them to be fighters. That's what's going to give them the strength and the desire to get through these hard times that they will have, right? The trick is we just don't want them to fight us, right? We want them to fight CF. We just don't want them to fight us, right? And so that is kind of that struggle, that sort of that paradox that we have as parents and doctors and as patients, our children, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So back to Jacob and the little Jacob story here. So I realized, wow, I am not sure what I'm going to do here. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do because I was recognizing I know how I was raised and I didn't want to raise my kids that way because I didn't like it. If truth be told, I was a really strong-willed teenager too. Shh, hold your ears, Casey, right? I was a really strong-willed teenager too. And if truth be told, most are. I mean, they need to be. That's the age of independence. In fact, Love and Logic, which is what we're going to be talking about today, Jim Fay of Love and Logic likes to say that teenagers are toddlers on hormones and wheels. Think about that one for a moment, right? So I'm sitting there with this 2-year-old thinking, how am I going to do this? And of course, what am I thinking? I'm thinking in my mind, wow, I know what I was like when I was a teenager. And if I can't figure this kid out at 2, what am I going to do when he's a teenager? Yeah, and I knew what I was like, so it scared me. It really did. Because I'm realizing in this moment, seeing my life flash before my eyes, like, wow, this is a kid with cystic fibrosis. I mean, I was hard as a teenager without a chronic illness. And as rebellious as I was in some other areas, that wasn't necessarily life-threatening. I mean, I guess it could be. a little bit of experimentation with some, some drinking and some boyfriends and whatnot. Casey, close your ears, right? But the point is that is what teenagers do. That is what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. Not necessarily experiment, but be independent and separate from the parents. And I'm trying to figure out all of this. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? So I started asking around. And people really didn't have answers for me. How do I make my kid take enzymes? And they would say really, really well-meaning things like, like bribe him with ice cream, bribe him with chocolate. And I'm like, okay, that works in the short term, right? That works in the moment. But what about the long run? I can't see me giving my teenagers enzymes with hot chocolate sauce, right? Because what happens is it goes from chocolate sauce to Ferraris or the newest iPhone, right? That's what happens with bribery. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm all for rewards, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the problem is, if we're not raising kids who make good choices from inside the kid because it's their life, then we're going to start to run into some trouble when all of a sudden they're able to think for themselves a little bit more and they start to hit that independence. So all of these things are hitting me in my gutter moment as a parent, right? And I'm so glad that I can share this with you because I hope that I can help you avoid the same gutter moment. Wherever you are, whether your kids are 2 or 15 or 22, what we're going to talk about tonight as you start to learn these tools and techniques are very effective. In fact, they work with husbands and wives and employees and employers and business partners because really parenting is about leadership. So we're going to talk about leadership. So back to Jacob's story. So I started trying to figure out what can I do? And about a month later, I stumbled on a little flyer on a wall. Oh, the flyer on the wall, right? And it said, would you like to have more fun parenting? More peace at home? Yes, yes, yes. More cooperation? Yes, yes, yes. Sign me up. And it was a program called Love and Logic. Has anyone here heard of Love and Logic? Yes, a couple of you. Yeah, it's a very well-known parenting program, evidence-based. It's been around for probably 40 years now. And I stumbled on a Love and Logic parenting class, and I went, and it really changed everything. So one of the first things I learned with Jacob was to use choices. So instead of saying, Jacob, here, take your enzymes, right? Because I'm a busy mom, and it's like time to eat, and we got to get going, and I got a newborn here to change some diapers, right? Come on, Jake, time to eat. Like, we got to go. We're on a schedule. Here you go. Here, Jacob, here's your enzymes. I learned to say, hey, Jacob, it's time to eat. You need to take your enzymes. Would you like to take them with the blue spoon or the yellow spoon? Yellow spoon. Jacob, would you like to take your enzymes with applesauce or pear sauce, like pear baby food, acidic, right? Apple. Jacob, would you like to drink grape juice or apple juice after your enzymes? Grape juice. Jacob, would you like to hold the spoon or mommy hold the spoon? Me hold the spoon, right? That was the golden question. Those 2-year-olds. Jacob, do you want to take your enzymes or mommy do it? Me do. Down the old hatch. And I'm like, no. It can't be that simple. And it is and it isn't. I mean, I wouldn't be honest with you if I told you it was always like that. But I will be honest and tell you when I just learned that simple tool, it cut down probably 70% of the battles I was having with my strong-willed Jacob. Because there's a lot of powerful psychology going on behind choices. Really, really powerful. And we're going to talk about it a little bit coming up in a moment. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how, as parents, we can be a little more thoughtful about our responses to our kids rather than being reactive. And I will tell you right now that we're all in different areas and we're all in different states of parenting, let's just say. We're all in process. We're all growing. Being a parent is a growth experience, not just for our kids, but for us too, right? And so what I do want to say is that I want you to focus on, in this room, what you're doing right more than what you're doing wrong. And what I hope that as I share these tools and techniques with you, you're like, yeah, I do that, and I do that, and I do that. Because I'll tell you, and I know that you guys are a lot like me, When I go to a parenting class or relationship class or any kind of class like that, I'm too busy figuring out, oh, I'm doing that wrong. Oh, I'm doing that wrong. Oh, great. I beat myself up. How many of you do that? How many of you do that? Let's be honest, right? We love our kids, and we want to do the best for them. So I don't want to leave you here with more things to beat yourself up with. I want you to pat yourself on the back. You are doing an amazing job. Parenting is hard, and we only have the hand we were dealt with and the way we were raised, which most of us have no choice about. So, starting at the beginning, here we go. Ready, set, go. Now, let's find out a little bit about you. Raise your hand if you were the parent of, say, a preschooler, preschool and under, including newborn. Okay? All right, a good portion of you. Oh, I love that. I'm so glad, because that's the time I learned this stuff, and it's been amazing. I mean, look at Casey. She's 17. Wow, 15 years. No, she's had 17 years of this stuff, right? She's like, oh. Yeah, so you guys will have a whole lot more questions after I talk for her, I'm sure, right? And so that's the good part. So jot those down as we go along. All right, so how many of you here are the parent of so we did preschoolers. How about the 4s, 5s? Raise your hand if you're the 4s and 5s. Okay. What about the school age? So, kindergarten through say 3rd grade. Raise your hand if you're kindergarten through 3rd. Okay. Great. Lots of you too probably have a couple kids, right? 2 or 3 or more. How about those of you with 6th, 7th, 8th grade? Okay. Oh, good bunch of you too. How about those of us here with high schoolers, teenagers? Raise your hand. Should we have a moment of silence? Absolutely. Yes. And then how many of you here are the parent of an adult child, whether CF or not? It doesn't matter. So yeah, once a parent, always a parent, right? And you guys will know, you will say that to us with younger kids. Yeah, I mean, it changes. The relationship changes, but we're still a parent. We're still growing, and they still teach us new things, and we still teach them new things. All right, so I like to say I don't have an MD or a PhD, but I do have MOM after my name, and that is my most important job. I've been doing these talks for probably about 10 years now, and it's really an honor for me. I used to be scared to death, and I hated it in the beginning, but I love it now, only because I can really share some things with you that I think will really help your life. So I used to be able to say, I don't have an MD after my name, but my most important job is taking care of my 2 kids with CF. But now, because my kids are now 19, my son Jacob is 19, he's a freshman in college, and Casey is 17, now my job is to support my kids to take good care of themselves. So my role has now changed and really completely shifted now with, the idea of transition in mind, empowering my kids to be more independent. I'm as much of a cheerleader and a checker than I am actually a doer. So those of you with young kids, it's exhausting now. It's tiring, right? Yeah, you've got bags under your eyes 24/7, right? It's hard, but it does change, trust me. And it really does get better, so hang in there. So you all know the kind of medical regimen that the kiddos do. Many different prescriptions, breathing treatments. I mean, the whole thing takes, an hour in the morning roughly, an hour in the evening roughly, something in the middle if we need to do extra treatments because of an exacerbation. It's a lot to manage. We add in, cleaning the nebulizers, boiling or microwaving or steaming or however you do it, all the medical management, the prescription management, all of this is a lot of work. And then, of course, we add in, having fun. We add in just life, just living, as Casey talked about so beautifully. There's a lot of things that we all manage. Of course, we have our jobs. Our kids are in school. They have their homework. They have a lot to do. So with all of this going on, there are lots of opportunities for power struggles, communication problems, and stress. A lot of stress that we manage. And having good leadership skills are going to help us manage all of these areas well. So let's just talk for a moment about figuring out what makes a good leader. Because again, parenting really is about good leadership. In fact, Love and Logic likes to say that Love and Logic is really a leadership program packaged as a parenting program. And I've had people from Microsoft and Google in the Seattle area do my parenting classes, come back and say, wow, I've won awards in my department now because I use the same tools on the preschool that I learned in the preschool class, parenting preschoolers. I use them on my employees now, their managers, and I'm winning awards because leadership is leadership. And if we think about it in that way, it can really make some of the decisions we have to make in our homes a little bit easier. Now, certainly when it's our kids, it's harder because love gets in the way. We don't necessarily love our employees, so we have a little bit more objectivity. But a lot of the tools and techniques and the communication styles that we use with employees are very effective with our teenagers. And so you can kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you think about it, because many of you have probably been through management training and leadership training. Of course, we can't fire our kids like we can our employees, and our kids just can't say, take this job and shove it, right, if they don't like the boss, right? So, there are some differences, but it kind of gives us a guideline. So let's talk just a little bit about leadership. What makes a good leader? So I'd like you to just pause for a moment, and in your mind, think about somebody who you would say, that is a great leader. Now, this little slide here is not any kind of a political statement. It's just something I got off the internet that has lots of different leaders from many walks of history. But this doesn't even have to be a great leader, like a world leader that you think of. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a doctor. So just take a moment and think about someone who you would say, that was a great leader to me. Bring that person to mind. Now think about, what are the things about that person that make him or her a good leader? What are the attributes about that person that just draw you in? Okay, so let's call them out. So charismatic, thank you. What else? A good listener, thank you. What else? Empathetic, absolutely. What else? Vision, thank you. We're going to talk about vision. Yes, what else? Yeah, so they notice your strengths. So someone who focuses on your strengths and not your weaknesses. Right, love that. What else? Encourager, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth because that perfectly followed what was just said. Yeah, what else? Patient, thank you. What else? Sense of humor, yeah. A whole lot more fun to be around, right? Definitely, yeah, thank you. A what? Observant, thank you. And if I hear you, I hear you before I see you, so I'm like looking for you. So if I don't look right at you, I apologize. So thank you. Someone who's observant, who sees things. Yeah, so lots of great, we could probably call a whole lot more out. So lots of great things that we think about when we describe a good leader. So when we're thinking about a good leader, we think about their attributes or their personal qualities, like maybe integrity, compassion, wisdom, being observant. We think of their attitudes, like being a positive person, focusing on strengths, and being an encourager, maybe being a team player. And we think about what they do or their actions, maybe their accomplishments. The people on this screen is probably noted more for their actions, Gandhi and Bill Gates and Winston Churchill, right? Great movie that was out recently about what was going on under the bunker. So really, when we think about leadership, all of these things are important. And of course, someone called out vision. Vision makes a good leader. In fact, Joel Barker, who's a writer, a filmmaker, and a leadership guru, said, "Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time, and vision with action can change the world." Now, I don't know about changing the world, but changing lives one family at a time is entirely possible. Now, of course, you recognize the summit of Mount Everest in this picture, and I just have been fascinated by Mount Everest forever. It just blows my mind that people would actually want to climb a mountain so high that you have to step over dead, frozen bodies and put oxygen on you just to breathe and train for years and quite possibly die. I'm like, why? And people say, because it's there, right? But it's so fascinating, and it's such a testament of the human spirit. And by the way, did you know that there is a person with CF who has climbed Mount Everest? I wish I could remember his name. Does someone know it? Call it out. I need to look it up and write it down. But anyway, there is, so very, very cool. But anyway, a little bit of facts about Mount Everest. About 5,000 people have attempted to climb Mount Everest. Over 700 have done it. Over 500 have died trying. And it changes every year because, the numbers change every year. But I think there are some good metaphors for life with CF here. Passion, hard work, vision, and hope are what it takes to climb Mount Everest. If they didn't think they could do it and have that spark of hope, they wouldn't. You would never look at Mount Everest and say, I'm going to die on that mountain, because they would never do it. They wouldn't. They would just say, no, I'm not going to, because I'm going to die on that mountain, right? They say, I'm not going to die on that mountain, so I'm going to climb it. I'm going to be one of the ones that make it to the top. So there's that spark of hope that brings them to that journey. So hope is what it takes to climb Mount Everest, and hope is what it takes to live well with cystic fibrosis. In fact, George Washington Carver said, where there is no vision, there is no hope. In past CF generations, hope was hard to come by. In the 1950s, few people with CF lived to go to elementary school. In 1985, the median age of survival was about 25. In 2002, it was 31. And in 2012, we passed a new milestone at 41. And as we heard earlier today, we are now at 47. Now, as we all know, too many young people still pass too early with cystic fibrosis. We've had several in our community pass very recently. And that is the reality of cystic fibrosis. But we also have a lot of hope. And when I hear of that and I grieve and I cry and my heart breaks for those who we lose too young, and it hits home to all of us, we have young children. We have young children. It hurts. We have to hold on to our hope. We have to take a deep breath, have a good cry, get up tomorrow and say, we can do this. We can do this. Because we are our kids' example. Parenting number one, right? Our kids learn from our example. And our example is to be both real and honest, and also take a deep breath and start a new day. That is the example that our kids will learn from, that we can be good models for. So there is good news. It's exciting, and there is a lot of hope. And, back in the day, a long time ago, when parents were given the CF diagnosis, a moment and a day none of us will ever forget, ever, right? We all remember that day. A long time ago, parents were told, love your child. And many of you in the CF world remember that day. Love your child. Just love him or her, spoil him or her, live your life. Don't worry about saving for college, because it probably isn't going to happen. And we have a generation of people with CF who are adults that grew up under that shadow. It's very different now. We are told, save for college. And I can testimony on that. It's very expensive, right? Save for college, save for weddings, save for braces, because your kid is going to need them. It's a very different message that we have. And so now we can all focus on living longer. We can focus on living well, productive, meaningful lives with cystic fibrosis. There are doctors with CF. There are judges with CF, and I pick those because they take a long, educational path. There are people doing things in every career. I recently read a thing about a guy who's taking his mom on a trip around the world, hint, 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 because he loves his mom, hint, 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 because, just kidding. And he's a flight attendant, right? And he's got all these miles, and he's traveling around the world with CF, and he is loving life. So CF has really, really changed. And so a critical part now of living well with CF is looking to the future and parenting for the long run, not just today, not just for the short run. So that brings with it a certain set of problems. And here's the problem, is we just can't make people do what we want them to do if they don't want to do it. And your CF team can tell you, just like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, you can hand a pill to a patient, but you can't make them take it. And this is the real challenge that we have with having anyone in the family with a chronic illness, whether it's an adult or a kid, right? It's hard to make a person do something that they don't want to do or that they don't see value in for themselves. If truth be told, I miss my pills sometimes in the morning, right? I mean, it's hard to manage this thing called medicine sometimes. So we can't make people do what we want them to do if they don't want to do it. And so, what do? Common responses that don't work in the long run. Notice I say the long run. So here is I'm gonna wander a little bit here. Get my mic on. Test. Okay. Here's the devil of it. This long run thing, right? The devil of it is it works in the short run. How many of you here have tried to make your kids do something by bribing them? And let's be honest, okay? Because everyone's gonna raise their hand. Bribing, right? If you take your enzymes, I'll give you ice cream. If you do this, I'll buy you a new iPhone, right? We all do it. Does it work? Thumbs up. Well, short term, right? In the moment. Right? Some of you are saying no. Yeah, I know. Long run. Yeah, short term it does. I mean, what 11-year-old kid doesn't respond to if you do this, whatever it is, your homework, whatever, I'll get you a new video game, or you can have more screen time, or whatever. They're going to do it. Yeah, what 10 or 11-year-old, 9, 10 or 11-year-old doesn't respond to, if you don't do this, I'm going to take away your screen time, or the classic one, if you don't do your homework, if you don't do your breathing treatments, if you don't pick up your room, if you don't do this, if you don't, you name it, you fill in the blank, I'm going to take away your cell phone, right? That's become like the catch-all for everything. We all do it because it works in the short run. What do we get? They do it. Do they do it happily? No. We get snark, we get eye rolls, we get fits, we might get a kick at the door. So we get short-term compliance at the expense of long-term learning. So what do? See, here's the holy grail of parenting, of teaching. And how many of you here are teachers? So those of you who are teachers, you know this, and probably others do too. The holy grail of teaching is how do we have kids in a classroom who want to learn? Intrinsic learners. Kids who want to learn from the inside. Not to brag on my Casey, I don't know how it happened, but I mean, she loves to learn, right? She loves to learn. She wants to learn. How do we raise kids who make good choices from inside the kid? Not from the external. Not from the carrots and sticks that we give, but because it's in their own best interest. Because it's their life. How do we raise kids who get that at a very deep level? That understand that the things that they do, the actions that they take, the experiences, the choices they make affect them the most and their life the most. Yeah, mommy and daddy are upset. Yeah, mommy and daddy's heart breaks when a bad thing happens to a kid because of their own bad choices. But who does it affect the most? Our kids. So how do we raise kids who get that? Well, the answer is love and logic. And that's what we're going to talk about. Here we go. We're going to watch a little video. This is one of my favorites because it really gives us the big picture in one short little video. All right.
The road to wisdom is paved with lots of choices, lots of choices, lots of decisions, lots of mistakes. See, wise parents know that short-term discomfort is a whole lot better than long-term pain. So they allow their kids to make lots of choices and make lots of little mistakes when they're young that lead to short-term discomfort, so that the kids later on don't have to make major mistakes that lead to long-term pain. Before I ever became a psychologist, I knew a teacher couple. Both of them taught school. They had a little boy named Brandon. He was only about 4. They invited me to an air show. You know what an air show is, right? It's not a bunch of politicians talking and stuff. No, it's airplanes and stuff. Yeah, and we go, and little Brandy's so cute. He's got his hands over his ears. He's jumping up and down. There's jets whizzing over his head. It's great. He gets up in a little helicopter, gets his picture taken, junk food everywhere. Oh, it was good. And what else do they have at those things? Souvenir booths, toys. What does he gravitate towards? He runs right into that souvenir booth, runs over to this crummy helicopter that looks like it's going to break in a day. What does he say? Want this? What does his dad say? Well, looks like it's going to break pretty quick. But if you have the money, you can buy it. Now, this is a 4-year-old. What happens next? How much dollars does it cost? Well, let's see it, $5.99. So that's going to be $6. I'm looking at the, oh, this kid's going to throw a fit now. What happens? No fit. Reaches into his little pockets, pulls them inside out. Crumpled up dollar bills start falling out. Change starts falling out. $6, he comes up with it. He walks out with his helicopter. At that point in time, I thought, what horrible parenting, irresponsible behavior. Well, we go and have a little lunch there, and he's running that helicopter all over the place. He's not eating a thing, he's having a good time. You know, that stuff. Oh, that joy on his face. I can't resist. I say to Dad, where did he get $6? Mom pipes in. Oh, he gets an allowance. I said, what? Yeah, he gets a weekly allowance that works out to be a little less than $1 each week after we do taxes and withholding. What? And Dad says, oh boy, you know, when I first got, I went out and worked on my own, you know, before I went to college, and I figured out exactly how many hours I worked for my first paycheck and how much I was going to get paid, and then I went out and spent all sorts of money, and I knew I had the money to pay for it, and then I got my first paycheck, cardiac arrest. I'm just hoping he doesn't have to learn that at age 18. Then maybe he can learn it at age 4. Is that something you can do with your kids? Give them an allowance and then sit down with them and say, okay, we're going to start with $2 and we're going to take this out for taxes. And is that too young to learn about that? Absolutely not. So I say to the guy, I say, so you're telling me, let me get this right, that he just spent over 6 weeks worth of allowance on this crummy helicopter that's going to break before the end of the day. What's Dad say? Yep. Yeah, just like that. Yep. Huh? Yeah, well, it might break. I said, but you let him spend all of his money on that. Yep. See, and if that breaks before the end of the day, he's going to be so much luckier than I was. Because I didn't learn that lesson until I was 17 and I bought my first car. And all I cared about was the paint job and the stereo. It looked nice, the stereo was loud, but it didn't go anywhere after a while. And he says, you know, that cost a whole lot more than $6. Is it starting to make some sense now? Does this kid get lucky? Absolutely, you betcha. What happens? I hear crying, I look over, tears running down his face. He's holding one part of the helicopter here, the other part of the helicopter here. He's, oh, take it back, Daddy. What's Daddy say? How sad. Gave him a big hug, loved him up. Did Dad say, well, I hope you learned your lesson? Oh, absolutely not. See, with Love and Logic, we say, let the empathy and the consequence do the teaching. Don't rub any salt into the wounds by telling the kid what he's learned. I mean, how would you feel if you came home, got a ticket, I-25, and your spouse said this? We've talked about this before. Now, are you going to do that again? Well, I love you, and that's why I came up with this chart. And if you can get home every night, you know, without a ticket, we'll put a sticker there, and we'll have pizza. You know, it'll be good.
I love that video. It's so funny. Casey's sitting there going, oh yeah, now I see where the allowance came from. Yeah, I love this video because it really gives us the big picture of Love and Logic. So let's talk about this. All right. So first of all, what did you notice about Dad's attitude when the little boy asked him about buying the helicopter? What did you notice? What did he say and do? He said, okay. What else? He didn't say no right away. What else? So he gave the kid responsibility. He made the kid responsible. Yeah. What else? Non-judgmental. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, he didn't give a real value judgment about the state of the helicopter. He kind of did, but I'll mention that in a moment. But not in a mean way, right? Yeah. What else? No lectures? No. Yeah, thank you. I'm looking for you. But yes, somewhere in the middle. Yeah, he let him make up at the top. Okay, thank you. Yeah, he let him make the choice. Yeah, so he was pleasant, he was kind, and notice his language. Here's how I want you to talk to your kids, okay? Instead of saying, what happens when we say, you should do this, you should do that, even as adults? How do we like that? We don't like that. This dad used I language, and here's how he talked. Well, I don't know about that, I'm kind of paraphrasing, I don't know about that helicopter. I'm afraid it might break. It looks kind of cheap to me, but if it were me, I probably wouldn't spend my money on it, but if you want to spend your money on it, go for it. You go for it, right? Talking about himself, giving a little bit of wisdom, and then giving the can-do message, right? So the helicopter broke and the kid was crying and upset. As a typical parent, what is a typical response? Call it out. Got it. I told you so. Ding, ding, ding. Number one, right? We love to have that come out of our mouth. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We're right. We love to be right. We know we're right. We're always right. And we just want them to know we're right. Right? Yeah. What else is a typical parenting response in this moment? What else? Yeah, so buy a new one, get a new one, right? Fix it, right? Yeah, ding, 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 number 2, 2 for 2. I told you so, and fix it, right? Yeah, very common parenting responses. Now, I don't know if you guys were raised like me. Maybe someone in here was. My dad was actually in the military, so it's kind of typical for military. He was, went through boot camp and all that. He'd say, if you don't quit your crying right now, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Kids these days. Yeah, I told you that helicopter was a piece of junk. There's the I told you so, right? Yep, quit your crying right now, right? So some of us were raised with that too. So, but what did this dad say and do? What did he say and do? Gave him a big hug. Empathy. Gave him a big hug, loved him up. Didn't say, I told you so. Yeah. Now, what do you think this kid learned from this situation? What did this kid learn? He learned some little lessons and he learned some big lessons. What do you think? Now remember, this moment with this kid, this is his life. I mean, this would be like us going to Las Vegas and losing our entire fortune on one gamble, right? Rolling the dice and losing everything. So for this kid in this moment, this is a life-changing moment for him at his developmental level, okay? Yeah, so what did this kid learn in this moment? Yeah, my feelings matter. My feelings are important. I'm not shut down. What else did he learn? He's still loved. That is so huge, isn't it? My dad, or if we, if it was a mom in this story, so hopefully our imaginations can stretch that far, right? My mom, my dad love me. They're there for me no matter what. They're there for me no matter what. They love me no matter what, even when I really blow it and I really do something dumb and I'm really not at my best because I'm having a little temper tantrum. My mom and dad still love me. What else? Thank you. Yeah, it's okay to make mistakes. We all make them. We're all human, and it's okay. We don't have to be perfect. We don't like to make mistakes, but it's okay. What else? Thank you. Oh, isn't that good? What would we pay? We would pay anything to have kids who, right? Yeah, but that's really valuable. We increase the odds that our kids are more likely, notice my language, to hear what we have to say. We increase the odds. Are there any guarantees? Are there any guarantees that our kids are going to turn out great, perfect? No. We can only increase the odds. And that's what Love and Logic is about. It's about responding in ways that will increase the odds that our kids will make good choices. So what else did this kid learn? A couple other things. One big one that I'll point it out if we don't get it another minute. Call them out. Some practical things. What about money? Be a good steward. Yeah. Don't buy junk. Yeah. One more thing. And I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of important things. I'm sending around an email sheet just to explain to you. I will never sell your name or share it or anything. And after I get home, I'm going to send you an email for 4 weeks that will help teach you. In your folders, you guys should have the handouts, the COPE cards, right? Did you get the COPE cards? Yeah. So why don't we pull those out real quick, because this is our worksheet, COPE cards. I'm going to do a little short 4-week class to teach you the COPE formula, okay? Online. Be a quick online. So it should be in your folders. No, we didn't. Yeah, you guys got folders, and I believe, yeah, so some of you have them. And I know I gave a big stack of them to the CF team, so hopefully everyone's got them. And if not, you can let me know. It should be in your folder. Yeah, I understand you guys got a folder. Perfect. You got it. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, so the big thing, there's a lot of big things that this kid learned, but here's a really important one. Remember, this kid, this is his life-changing moment, right? His big moment. He'd been saving his money for a long time, and he lost it all. And his dad has got his arm around him, encouraging him. This kid has just learned, I can cope. I can handle it. I am resilient. I can experience the worst thing that life has to throw at me, in my little 4 years or whatever right now. But I can handle it with my dad's arm around my shoulder. I can handle it. I can recover. I am resilient. I can cope. That is so important, especially for our kids with cystic fibrosis to learn. Every one of us in this room, more than general parenting audiences that I teach, we know, we know that life is hard. We know. We've experienced it at a young age, at a cycle of our family life cycle that most people don't. We know that life can be hard, that it doesn't always work out the way we expect it to. We know that. And I will tell you, our kids with cystic fibrosis are miles ahead of their peers in this department because they've learned that in a good way. In a good way. They are so resilient. I mean, when we talk about the general population, we've got some real problems with teenagers in general, with depression and anxiety. They get into college and they get their first B and they're jumping off bridges. Our kids with CF, as hard as it is for us and them, they know that life isn't simple. They know that everything doesn't come easy. They are resilient. They can cope. They can handle it. At their young ages, they've been through a whole lot more than most of those kids have been through. And it gives them strength. It makes them strong. And we can empower that and we can encourage that by responding in this way when life gets hard. And we can do it with the small things like helicopters and money. We can build that resilient muscle. It's like an exercise. It's like exercising a muscle. So that when the hard times do come, they've got that muscle is strong and has been exercised. So Love and Logic teaches us that we as parents can increase the odds of raising responsible kids who make good choices and cope well with life by allowing them to make choices and affordable mistakes. Notice the word affordable here. Okay? It's one thing to allow a child to make a mistake when we're talking about helicopters or homework. Quite another when we're talking about dealing with medical issues. So let's do a real quick exercise about this idea of affordable mistakes, because this is where I got really hung up with Love and Logic, when I was just like very confused, like, okay, fine and dandy, picking up toys, you trip on them, or not doing your homework, so maybe you get a bad grade, or you have to stay in during recess. Okay, I get all that, and not rescuing and fixing and hovering, right? But, I mean, the medical piece is a very different story, right? I mean, we can't just let our kids, I mean, to take it to an extreme, we would never allow a child with diabetes to not take their insulin and go, oh, well, I guess you're having a diabetic ketoacidosis session, and I guess you're just going to be in a coma. Oh, how sad. I mean, we would never do that. We would never say to a kid, oh, well, you can just run out in the middle of the road. Would you like to be round or flat? No, we would never do that, right? So obviously in those situations, we rescue. We say, here is your insulin. We say, get out of the road now, right? We rescue. But there's some gray area. So what about, in a funny sort of way, with cystic fibrosis, we're kind of lucky that we have a particular drug that we can allow the consequences to fall, kind of depending on our health status here, so check with your team about this for your kid. But in general, there's a particular drug I'm thinking about that we can allow to have the consequences fall, but it's not life-threatening. What might that be? Yeah, you got it. Yeah, because there are some consequences, aren't there? And I can tell you that, our kids have experimented with taking or not taking the enzymes and the consequences thereof, and that is a great learning opportunity, right? Because we can just put our arm around their shoulder and love them up and say, what a bummer, that is so sad. That must really hurt. Or, wow, yeah, that's really embarrassing. It sounds like you might have to stay home tonight because going to the movie with your friends isn't going to be a really good idea. What a bummer, right? And so I'm being a little dramatic because I'm on the stage, but really, this is really how we can respond. And, my kids can tell you this is how we've handled things through the years. I remember one time the kids after school, it was a hot day in Seattle. They're kind of rare, but it was a hot day. And the kids said, Mom, I picked them up from school, and they said, Mom. And they were just learning to carry their own enzymes, right? I kind of put them on notice. Look, I'm not carrying them anymore. It's your job. It's your responsibility. They were like 11 or 12 because they were relying on my purse supply. And I let them know, look, I'm not carrying them, so don't rely on my purse supply. There isn't one. There's no car supply either, okay? You need to learn to carry them yourself. And they were doing a great job. But then, one day came and, hey, Mom, can we go to Wendy's and get a Frosty after school? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go to Wendy's and get a Frosty. And so we pulled up in the drive-thru. I'm like, okay, so does everyone have their enzymes? Enzymes. Casey, do you have enzymes? I don't know, Jake, I think I have enzymes. They're looking through their backpack. Jake, do you have enzymes? They're pawing through the car. I mean, it's crazy that they didn't have any, but they didn't have any. And they're like, no enzymes. Mom, do you have enzymes? No enzymes. I don't have any enzymes. And they're just like, we don't have any. And I'm like, oh, this is so sad. What a bummer. Oh. Sorry, kids, we're not going to get a Frosty. And I backed up. Luckily, there was no one behind me, and we went home. Now, in hindsight, right, how many of you here always think of a better thing to do in 10 minutes later, right? In hindsight, there were other things I could have done. But at the moment, and they were mad at me. They were like, Mom, why can't we just get it and wait? Mom! And I'm like, look, I am not going to contribute to your gastrointestinal problems by, supporting non-enzyme use. We're going to go home. Casey laughs. I know. And so we went home. And so, and they were mad at me, right? That's the hard part as a parent. They were mad at me. And, and I didn't like that. I felt bad. But then, like the next day, hey, Mom, can we go to Wendy's for a smoothie? I'm like, sure. And before I could even say anything, we got them. We got the enzymes. We got them. Right? And so there was no amount of nagging, reminding, warning, and begging that I could have done. Because trust me, I have tried it. I'm not perfect. I do that too. And it doesn't work. And then I'm like, oh, what am I? I got to go back to love and logic, right? Because this doesn't come naturally. And I share that with you, though, because I want to give you encouragement and hope that this stuff is very, very effective. So what we're talking about is sharing control. When we're allowing our kids to make affordable mistakes, and we put our arm around their shoulders and allow them to experience those natural consequences with our love and encouragement, right? We're sharing control. So what happens when we say to a kid, hurry up? Call it out. What do they do? Absolutely. It's human nature, and we do it too. What happens when you're driving down the road, you look up in the mirror, and someone's tailgating you? They are right on your tail. What do? Exactly. Human nature says that when one demands, the other resists. So this is the problem that we have with our teenagers, right? And our 2-year-olds. And us as adults. Again, remember, when our kids are 7, 8, 9, 10, if truth be told, they're afraid of us, right? Because, they don't want to get in trouble. They're afraid. They do what we say because they don't want to get in trouble. But then when they're teenagers, what do they think? They sneak, they hide, they lie, or they just in your face defy, right? That's the challenge with the teen years. So if we start sharing control and using this way of responding to our kids when they're younger, then we're in really good shape when they get to become teenagers, and this kind of thing becomes necessary, a more collaborative approach to parenting. And so what we're going to use when our kids are teenagers more often is guiding our kids to solve their own problems. So on the inside of your card, under P for problem-solving skills, here's how the helicopter story could have turned out, right? So we ended the story with Dad, arm around the shoulders. Oh, what a bummer. That is so sad your helicopter broke. Step 2, send the power message. What do you think you'll do? What can you do? What's your plan? How can you fix this, right? Lots of ways to say that. I don't know. Would you like some ideas? Okay. And then we offer choices. Well, I could go into the store with you and hold your hand and you could ask for a refund. How would that work out for you? I don't know. Okay, we could just take the helicopter home and I could help you super glue it. How would that work out for you? Well, I don't know. Okay. I know, we could go home and ask Grandma to buy you a new one. How would that work out for you? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I like that one. Okay, yeah. Okay, and so you see how this goes. We offer choices, ask how that would work out, what might the consequences be, and then we give them the good luck message, right? So I hope that, let me know what you decide. I'm here for you. Let me know how I can help, okay? That's how we problem solve with our teenagers, and better starting at a younger age. So really, we're just using choices, right? That little tool that I taught you is just kind of a nice way of setting us up to use choices. Choices share control. And it seems really simple, but it's actually very effective. So here are some examples of how we can word our choices. We don't say, do your nebs, but we do say, are you going to do your nebs before or after breakfast? Would you like to watch TV or play a video game? Would you like to do them now or in 5 minutes, right? Of course, we build 5 minutes into the plan. We don't say take your pills now. We might say, would you like to take your pills with juice or milk? Would you like to take it with apple juice or orange juice? We don't say labs are tomorrow. We do say, would you like to have your blood tested tomorrow, or is Friday better for you? Particularly with our teenagers, right? We don't say eat your vegetables. We say, would you like to have broccoli or carrots with dinner? Of course, for us, we're going to say, would you like lots of butter, or would you like hollandaise sauce on your broccoli or your carrots for dinner, right? As we try to get those calories in. All right, so we use lots and lots of choices with our kids when things are going well. We use them before resistance, and when we use choices, our kids might even use choices on us. Here's a little comic. Which do you want me to do? Go to my room or have a timeout? Okay. So questions imply choices, and so questions are another way of using choices. And one that I love to use is, what is your plan? What is your plan for? You fill in the blank. So we want to use choices and questions as much as possible around all the things in life, including schoolwork, chores, clothing choices, but especially where their bodies are concerned, like medical treatments and dietary requirements. So I'm going to share with you a short little audio clip, and I'm not going to talk about it a whole lot because I think you'll see the difference, and in the interest of time, I kind of want to finish up my part so we can have some time for questions. But I want you to listen to these. This is a daughter talking with her mom, or a mom really talking with her daughter, about a brain tumor. And it's from Dr. Foster Klein. He's a child psychiatrist. His CD called Coping with Grief, Trauma, and Loss. It's a Love and Logic CD. And it actually is a real case of a mom talking with her daughter, but they kind of did a role play to kind of do the before and after. And as we listen to this, I want to remind you that this is a very loving mom who loves her daughter and is doing her best with what she knows and is trying to help her daughter feel better about a very hard situation. We all do this, so I don't want the whole beating ourselves up, okay? Please don't do that. I don't want you to do that. And I'll be honest with you, even our medical professionals will do this with us, so you guys don't beat yourselves up either, okay? So here's the before.
Honey, I know you're upset, but it's going to be okay.
No, it's not.
Yeah, they'll operate on you and the tumor will be all gone.
Yeah, but what if they don't get it all?
They will get it all.
Sure, yeah, but what if they don't?
You've got the best doctors in New York. They'll get it all, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. So as we can see, that is a very loving mom who's trying to reassure her daughter and encourage her, it's all going to be fine. It's going to be okay, honey. It's going to be okay. But is she being reassured? No, she's not. Let's listen to something else.
Honey, you've been pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
No, not really.
I guess you're feeling worried.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
I'm just worried. What if they don't get it all?
Well, I'll bet you are worried, but what are you thinking?
Well, it's in my brain, and even if they do get it, I'll probably be a vegetable, or I can't think or something.
Well, what did Dr. Johnson say he thought would probably happen?
They'd probably get it all.
And why did he think that, honey?
'Cause it's all in one area, and it's pretty easy to get to. At least that's what he says.
Well, do you think you can trust what he says?
I guess, but I'm still worried.
Well, I can understand that, but everyone's praying it's going to turn out okay, and you've got a lot of help on your side, don't you?
Yeah, thanks for talking to me about it.
Honey, I'd talk to you all day if I needed to. Come here, let me give you a hug. I love you.
I love you too, Mom.
Very different conversation. There's some tips about having tough communication issues. There are some tips for talking about tough issues with your kids on the inside of the cope card, communicating about tough issues. So we do have hard conversations with our kids. It comes up. And this is an example, this is a model of how we can have some of these difficult conversations with our kids. So, choices, questions, and problem solving, along with a lot of empathy, eye language, and what happens when our kids make a poor choice, like not taking their enzymes, right? Okay, that's when we have action. backing up out of the line, right? Or allowing them to experience the consequences with our empathy. So empathy and consequences help our kids learn to make good choices. Here's a great example of how Casey learned about antibiotics, to take her antibiotics before school. So she was learning to, do it herself, right? To self-manage, be independent with her pill remembering. And we started out with the morning dose in a pill box, right? To make it really easy with her, right by her breakfast plate, so she could see it right there to remind her. And I was really trying not to remind her, because that was the whole point. I wanted her to learn to remember on her own. And she was doing a great job with her oral antibiotics. And oral antibiotics are not one of those kinds of things that we allow them to suffer the consequences. It's like they are absolutely, you have to take them, okay? So rescue at all costs. So she was doing a great job of taking them. And so the way it would work is she would take it at breakfast, and then she'd go get dressed or whatever, and then I would check her pill box to make sure she had taken it. And then if she didn't, we'd have a conversation, but she was doing a great job. One morning, I got busy, I didn't check, she forgot, she didn't take it. So I opened up the pill box, she had already gone to school, and I'm like, oh, bummer. So I went to school, and I, had her called out of school, and I gave it to her. And, she kind of was like, oh, Mom, what are you going to do? And I'm like, it's okay, you're human. Everyone's allowed a freebie, okay? Everyone's human. We're all allowed a freebie. So, went home. Well, like a week later, what happened again? She forgot another one. Okay, so she's human. She's a kid, right? She's learning. So she goes to school. I check the pill box. She forgot it. So I go, I get it to her in the nurse's office or whatever, and then she's like, oh, Mom, what are you going to do? She knew. She's a love and logic kid, and I'm like, I don't know, Casey. What a bummer. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I need some time to think about it. This is a little love and logic thing. I need some time to think about it. I'm not sure. Try not to worry about it. Right? Of course, she's a great kid, so what does she do all day? She's like, she's thinking, what is she going to do? What is she going to do, right? And what am I thinking all day? What am I going to do? What am I going to do, right? So she comes home from school. She's like, oh, Mom, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I thought about it. And this is how we structure our consequences. This is different from just taking away the cell phone, okay, for everything. Here's how I want you to structure your consequences. It's called restitution, okay? I said, well, Casey, I had to drive over to the school and back. That took time. It took gas money. So I didn't get all my stuff done that I needed to get done today because of the time, and it cost me money. So how can you make it up to me? And she said, well, I can pay you my allowance. I have $5, and I can help you do your chores. And I'm like, okay, well, it only costs like $2 for gas, so $2 is fine. And if you can help me sweep the floors, then we'll consider it even. And this was a picture of her sweeping the floor. She did. And it was funny because Jake saw all this going on, and he's like, oh, I hope I don't forget my antibiotics. I'm going to have to do chores, right? So she learned, and it was great. And I got a good couple years out of her. Really a responsible kid. So then another time, kind of a similar deal, she forgot to do an inhaled antibiotic. Again, she's a kid, and she's human. This time the consequences were I had her write a paper. She's like groaning, I'm sure. I had her write a little paper, and I gave her the prompts. Why is it important? Why do you need to not miss them? And so she wrote this little paper, and she did all the research herself. And, I remember at the end of that, she wrote it, and then we talked about it. And, of course, she didn't write it happily. And, of course, she didn't want to. And I just told her, Casey, feel free to take all the time you want writing that paper. You can take all week if you'd like. But, feel free. Notice my language. It's off the card, enforceable statements. Feel free to go out with your friends after your paper's done. Take all the time you want. No hurry. Feel free to go out after your paper's done, okay? So that was the language I used to kind of, get her motivated. So anyway, she wrote this little paper, and we talked about it. And I remember after she did this, I said, so what did you learn? And she said, Mom, I didn't realize how bad it was to skip my antibiotics. I didn't realize. And here's a kid who I've told, doctors have told, what do they hear? Wah, 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 right? We've all lectured them. We've all taught them. We've all, all of us have. But she didn't really get it until she did the research herself, okay? And so, at least in the moment, that was a good moment, and I think it just went further along to helping all of us learn and figure out where the gaps in knowledge were. So that was how we used empathy and consequences to help Casey learn to take her antibiotics and not miss them. Okay, so there is great hope for the future. Here are some of the little tips, and you're welcome to take a picture of this slide if you want, that we've used through the years with our kids. The future for everyone is unknown. I mean, we've had tragedies in our own communities, things that have happened with families that we would talk about. Living with passion and purpose, Casey talked about that. Finding joy and gratitude for each day. Our wishes were great. We always talked about our wishes, focusing on our wishes for the kids. And of course, it started out with Barney and Elmo, and then it moved into Hannah Montana and Justin Bieber. And I'm glad that didn't work out. But eventually the kids did their wishes, and my son got to be with the Seattle Seahawks and watch a game, and my daughter got to meet the cast and crew for NCIS. And for Jake, things got really good with the Seagulls. He's so embarrassed there. You don't know him, but he's just mortified. I mean, he was like, I don't know, 12, right? Wow. And they just draped around him. It was so good. I think I'm going to send him a pinup, over to his college dorm. Wouldn't that be funny? Anyway, so I'm going to tell a real super quick story here. I'm going to kind of abbreviate it, but it's a really powerful story about how our CF team is really partnered with our kids and having them have some really important life experiences, but also, the hard part of being a mom and a dad of having kids with CF, because it's hard, as you guys know. It's so great. Do we let them do these things? What are the risks? It's scary. So my son is an Eagle Scout, and I guess, most of us know that for Boy Scouts, an important thing for scouting is to be an Eagle Scout, but something else that's really important, or is really considered a peak experience, is to attend Philmont Scout Ranch. And the Philmont Scout Ranch website talks about how they're, 214 square miles of rugged northern New Mexico wilderness. Rugged is right, no electricity, no water, or no services. An 11-day trek into the high desert with only what you can carry on your back. So imagine my joy when my 15-year-old son with cystic fibrosis walks in and says, Mom, guess what? Our troop is going to Philmont Ranch this summer, and we get to go see dinosaur bones, and we get to go on see an airplane wreck, and we're going to go put our stuff on a mule, and we're going to put all of our stuff on our back, and we're going to hike for 110 miles for 11 days. Wow. I mean, I'm trying to be happy for him because I know this really matters, but inside I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And it's in moments like this that I have to admit that I have to swallow my inner helicopter parent. And you know what? She is always there and hovering, and she is always active, but I have to swallow her. So I took a deep breath, and I said, all right, Jake, wow, that really sounds amazing. And so have you thought about, how you're going to take care of yourself while you're on a trip like this? And of course, Jake being Jake says something like this, well, of course I have, Mom, right? And he says, well, yes, I have. I've got my portable nebulizer. I've got ice packs for my meds. I can do every other day on my Pulmozyme as long as I'm doing my salt breathers every day. And salt breathers don't need ice. And I can bring an acapella for my airway clearance, plus I'm going to be doing a lot of exercise. He clearly had prepared for this moment. He was anticipating what his mother would say. But I'm torn. I want Jake to go. I want him to go, but I'm so afraid. We've worked for years to keep his health, up there. I'm wondering what kind of shape is he going to be in when he gets home. But I also know that this experience is critical for him, both as a man, to become a man, to be normal, to live, but also as a person with CF, to not define himself by CF. My husband and I have always said, not always, we've really tried to raise our kids with the attitude of, yes, you can, what's your plan? Yes, you can. What's your plan to do your breathing treatments on that overnighter, that sleepover with your friends? Yes, you can go to summer camp. What's your plan for getting your treatments in? And by the way, you need to show me for easily a month before you go, that you're doing it on your own responsibly without my reminders before you're going to go on that summer camp. Yes, you can. What's your plan? That's how we responded to our kids. So I also knew that Jake could handle this trip. And the other caveat is that my husband was going to go because he was an assistant troop leader. So that gave me some measure of comfort that Jake would have the support there that he could. So I told Jake, I'm impressed you've thought about this. I think that's great. It sounds good to me. Let's check it out with your team. So we did. We met with the Jake CF team in Seattle. And it was funny because I was kind of hoping in my heart of hearts that my CF team would say no. Just kind of hoping they'd just go, no, Jake, you can't. So then that would just take me totally off the hook. But no, alas, they are so supportive. They said, yes, you can, Jake, what's your plan? Which is what I ultimately do love about them, right? And so, but one look at me, when Dr. Gibson walked in the room, one look at me told him a different story. And he said, you know what, Jake, I think it's great that you're going to go on this, but you know what? It's a big trip. It's a tough trip. And I know your mom is concerned about your care. So we have a lot to talk about, young man. And he sat and we talked and we made a plan. We did some modifications in his treatment, things that we could all live with, right? We figured it out. We put it together. And so we went to work making it happen. So long story short, we worked hard and we did everything we could to plan for it. The boys trained, they worked hard. This is a picture of some of their trail food, not much, right? It was desolate. It was a hard trip. There was some problems with keeping the things cold, so he ran out of Pulmozyme, so he didn't get to do all of his Pulmozyme, and there was about 3 days where the batteries died, and there wasn't the kind of stops and support along the way that the camp had promised us there were. So Jake went about 3 days without any breathing treatments and stuff, but he was okay. He was okay. It all worked out. Of course, I didn't know this because I went 11 days with no contact. There are no cell phones. There are no texts. Then I'm spending 11 days with Casey, biting my nails, so I didn't know any of this until they got home. But the moral of the story is, Jake climbed mountains. He pushed himself in ways that he never could have. He saw his dad push a stubborn mule to move that nobody else could do. He sat on a plateau with lightning all around him. He got to see a view of the stars that few ever will. He got to live. He got to be a man. He got to experience. He got to be normal. So much was in that. He spent time with his dad. He spent time with his dad. 2 years after this hike, my husband passed away unexpectedly of a heart attack. We did not know at the time that my husband was having problems. And I wish we had known. And it's heartbreaking and it's sad. But it makes this experience all the more poignant because he has memories with his father that he never, ever would have had. If we hadn't taken the leap and just said, yes, you can. All right, you can do this. I'm scared. It's hard to let go, but you can do this. With the support of his team, the blessing, the medical blessing, the preparation, empowered Jake to have this experience with his father. And so I end here with encouraging us to dare to dream. Save for braces, save for weddings, save for Philmont Ranch. Work with your team, partner with them, bring these to them. Say, I want my kid to go. How can we make this happen? They will help you. They will walk through this with you in partnership, helping you, help your children live all that they can, live a good life, because that's what fuels the desire. It's the dreams, it's the hope, it's the experiences that we will remember in the end. That's what I know Carl remembered in those moments that he had moments to think about his family and the joy and the love and the experiences that we shared. And so, we dare to dream. Thank you. Here's my contact information. Casey and I are here to answer questions. Yeah, we don't have long for many because it is 9 o'clock. I understand if some of you need to go, you may have babysitters and stuff. But there may be some questions. And thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone.
What's Jake taking in college? Oh, yeah, thank you for asking. Oh, you know, I usually say this for the end, but I am so proud of him. And actually, do I have a picture? No, I don't. Okay. Yeah, he's at Stanford. So, and that is such a testament to all of us and what we and our kids can do. And he's taking bioengineering right now. And he's in his freshman year. And so that's been a whole new learning experience. And if any of you are having college-age kids and they want to go away, I'm happy to talk with you about it. I mean, connect with me. I have lots of ideas and thoughts about all of that. We've been through it. It hasn't been easy. And I'm still a helicopter parent letting go. I mean, Casey can tell you, it's hard. It is hard, but he's doing great. And he wants to be a doctor someday. So one step at a time. And he's doing amazing. He checked himself into Stanford CF clinic because he had a lung infection, and he went through the whole thing himself and didn't even want me there. I'm proud, sad, you know, the whole deal, right? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Did he have a PIC line when, port?
No, no, neither kid has a port yet. We've been able to get by with the PIC line so far. You know, they kind of go like once a year or maybe twice a year, and I recognize that our story may be different than some of you. I mean, CF is crazy that way, very different walks. I understand that kids are double delta F508, so we are that, and they're both on Orkambi right now, and that has helped. So, but yeah, we have not needed a port yet, so we'll see. Any others?
Did you guys partake in many clinical trials?
Casey can answer that one. She loves them.
Yeah.
College money!
Seriously. Yeah, for
the
sure.
kids say, my body's for sale.
Yeah, I mean, not any super huge ones like when Orkambi was first like getting human trials. We didn't do any of that, and we haven't done any with Symdeco. But I mean, yeah, smaller ones. Just recently, when I was in the hospital, I did one with my blood sugar. I got a little meter placed in my side, and they were like monitoring it. And actually, it had good information like, for stuff outside of just the research. Yeah, I have problems with sleep, and we learned that my blood sugar drops in the middle of the night. So,
not sure what to do with that yet. So, would love the idea that somebody is looking at sleep with CF because it's a big issue. So, thank you. Can't wait to hear what you come up with.
But yeah, no, I really do enjoy research, doing stuff with the research team, and it's nice because they oftentimes share like my numbers if they're allowed, and like stuff that they've found with other people too. And I really enjoy just like seeing where I am and seeing where everyone else is with all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I don't even know, honestly. Here's what I will say. It was horrible. It was unimaginable. I mean, I cried for days and days and days, like on my knees, on the floor, cried. So I am really glad that my kids are independent, because I mean, you were 14 and Jake was 16.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's been 3 years, right at a 3-year now. At that point, they were really managing things on their own. And I am so grateful that we set it up that way. I mean, honestly, the whole Love and Logic thing, this was a leap of faith for me, because I had a gutter moment and I didn't know what else to do. And I was just like, God, you know what? I hope this is the right way to raise our kids because I know the way I would raise them naturally isn't, so I'm hoping this is right. And thank goodness it has been. And I will tell you that because I can't imagine what we would have gone through if they weren't as independent as they were. I will just say that the waves of grief get small, like the span in between is longer, so it's, the crying fits happen, but then they're not as long, and it's still a process, even at 3 years. We're still recovering. We're making changes. We're a resilient family. It's not easy, but I will say that I am grateful for the way we raised our kids, because now I also work with the widow and widowers community. Oh, goody, another club I'm a member of, right, that I didn't want to be. Oh, lucky me, right? But, right? But, I see so many families who didn't raise their kids the way we did, and they are a mess. They're in complete chaos and complete dysfunction. And so I'm really grateful that we at least, have that opportunity. And I just share that to just share the story. We just don't know. And one more piece of that, I will say, parents, please take care of ourselves. I could do another whole talk, and I do. We didn't know. We get so focused on taking good care of our kids, right? And of course, we have this high-fat, high-calorie diet that's facing us in the face every day. It's in our house, it's in our closets, in our pantry, and we get busy. And our stress levels are off the charts. And so as we get older, it starts to happen, so please take care of yourself. If my husband would have had what was called a cardio, your doctors could say it, cardio CT calcium score test for $300, he would be alive right now. And so I would encourage you, the insurance company won't pay for it, but I would encourage you to give that some thought and look it up, because our health matters too, and we are under so much stress. We just are. No.
Mm-mm.
It's strange.
Actually, we cultured different bacteria. He had Pseudomonas for a long time, and I didn't have it for years. And honestly, the only thing that we really did to prevent stuff was we just didn't do treatments in the same room, and we didn't share a bathroom. But
So we didn't share a bathroom. We didn't do treatments in the same room. They didn't share any food or just the love. Well, the rules were not in my presence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one time. Do you want to tell them the time you guys?
Well, I was like 2 or 3, and my brother is 2 years older than me, and I don't know what was going through our minds. We were very young, but we decided that to touch tongues. And we told my mom.
And they told me that on stage. I'm like, and I was just mortified. I'm like, you touch tongues? Everything I did to separate everything, and you touch tongues? They're kids, right? So, yeah. And we did everything we can to keep them, but they're siblings. What do you, yeah.
Let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a couple more things that we want to talk about, and then hopefully we've had a great night. We've been sharing everything, so I think we should share some information that we really haven't made a big deal about. Every year at National CF, the center directors meet, and we get awards from the National CF team. Just so you know, we haven't not bragged about it, although inwardly we're ecstatic to be able to tell you that this year at National CF, both the adult team from the Pierre Voti Cystic Fibrosis Center and the same at Children's, we won the top quality award for the country. So of the 182 centers, in the country, there's 4 pediatric awards given and 4 adult awards given, and we were not only ecstatic that one of the two teams won, but they both won. So it's based on quality and those numbers that Dr. Ben showed you, and not only that, the quality improvement things that we've done. So we're proud of the work we do because of you and the hard work you do for your kids and our team is sensational. So thank you. Couple passing words to go away with. Number one is please take your garbage with you. Number two, please, please, please fill out an evaluation so we can learn how to improve for next year, and have a good night. Thank you.